Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Stu and the Gasholes. I am Stu, and always joined by my gasshole friends, Chad and Joe.
Hi
How are
guys.
you guys doing today?
Great.
Maybe that sums it up. So,
I'm not so bad. I got home this morning from being in Michigan. I literally came home early to make this at home, so not bad.
As we just discussed, I'm in the middle of giving birth to a kidney stone, so
We can name it.
uh, dickhead. I probably shouldn't have said that, but that's what we're
It's
calling.
a HIPAA violation on Stu and the Gasholes.
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Not if I say it.
True.
That's right. It's not if you say it. You can say it.
Well, since you mentioned the law, I'll introduce our guest
There
because
you
he
go.
is a lawyer. So good segue there. Jim Curry can tell us if we've broken any laws this morning as we're recording, or today as we're recording.
Please don't tell me if I did.
Jim, we're happy to have you. How you doing today?
Doing great. Doing great. It's great to be with you guys.
Some of you may be familiar with Jim and his work. He's been around the PHMSA circuit, if you want to call it that, for many years now. And so we'll get to hear a little bit more about Jim and what he's been working on and what he has done in his career and how it's relative to all of you out there. So if that works for you, Joe and Chad, we can jump into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, looks good.
Awesome. So Jim, yeah, let's start there. Can you share a little bit about, your career, where you started, where you are now? Just give us a little background.
Sure, happy to. And thanks for having me on, guys. I
Absolutely.
appreciate the opportunity to chat with you. So yeah, I started my legal career in 2006, actually at the agency at PHMSA, just right after law school. Moved down to DC with my soon-to-be wife after school. Found a job at PHMSA, and kind of the rest is history. My first case is kind of funny. My boss came into my office and he hands me this folder, and it's like this thin.
Not this thick. This thick.
Yeah. And he's like, this is your case. And it was about a big oil spill up on the North Slope of Alaska. And
Nice.
I'm like, okay,
I
you know,
assume that file folder became a lot bigger after you're done with
filled
it.
my entire office. I worked on that for almost 5 years.
Wow.
Wow.
Congressional hearings and litigation and
That's
all
crazy.
kinds of stuff. Learned by doing. I really had, no experience at that point and got great experience. I remember I flew up to the North Slope with, a bunch of congressional people. Um, Took this shared services flight with, a bunch of guys who work on the slope up there. Um,
That's pretty wild.
Stayed up all night the night before writing congressional testimony, and I was like, what have I gotten myself into?
How old were you?
I was in my 20s,
That's
yeah, like mid 20s.
an
But
interesting start.
yeah, and it's been great ever since then. Lots of experience, at PHMSA. It's a pretty small agency at the time, so I did everything. I did enforcement, I did rulemaking, policy advice, kind of everything. Had an opportunity to work on Alaska stuff. I love Alaska. I actually was just there. Still do a lot of work up there. So left the agency 2006, went to another law firm in town, worked there for about 5 years, and then actually opened an office for Babs Callen here in DC. It's just three of us. Keith Coyle, who's now actually the PHMSA chief counsel, and then Brian Kurdock and I opened an office, just the three of us, tiny little office over by the White House. We're up to 17 people now,
Well, that's pretty
here in
cool.
DC. The broader firm has about 125 lawyers, and
I have what it might be a dumb question.
yeah,
I'm pretty good at those. But when you went from PHMSA to to the law firm, did you change sides of what you're doing, or like as far as like defense or I don't want to say prosecution because that's
Stop talking.
I will. Thanks, Joey. Can you?
Just he's not
I
he's
yeah, but I yeah,
criminal
like is it a
attorney.
different view? Is it a different viewpoint in private between private and the government? Is
yeah,
essentially
totally, totally. Yeah. So I was, prosecuting, I mean, not
yeah.
prosecuting
That's I don't know.
criminal defense, but like doing administrative
Yeah,
enforcement, on behalf of the government against operators, and now I defend operators. So
that's
yeah,
kind of what I meant. Yeah,
yeah, totally switching sides.
it's pretty wild.
Obviously not in the same case, it's all new
Yeah.
stuff. Can't work on both sides of the same case, but yeah. And it's cool. Like when I was in government, like this 20 something year old lawyer, like bringing cases against operators, but I don't really know like how operators work or like why they do what they do. And which is kind of weird when you're, wielding the power of the United States against people. And I really, that was one of the coolest things about going to private practice is, just having the insight into, why
What
companies
they
are.
do and why they do it.
Yeah.
To make a lot
Yeah.
of enemies.
What's that?
Make a lot of enemies.
I've tried not to. I can't say I don't have any. Um, I've tried not to. What you find, and you guys know this too, I mean, you guys are in business, like the older you get, the smaller the world gets.
Oh,
Sure.
And so it's just like at the end of the day, all you have is your reputation. So
you're right. You're exactly
enemy
right.
making can be perilous in a small world.
Was there anything you liked better working at PHMSA?
Yeah, I mean, I would say on balance, private practice is like I'm better suited for that.
Mm.
But working at PHMSA was um well, not billing time, I guess I'll say that.
Fair.
Understood.
No, it was cool. I mean, like getting, like I mean, every day is different in private practice, but it was like every day was really different at the agency. Like you'd be working on an enforcement case in the morning, and then somebody would be like, "I need you to come to the Hill with me," and like brief some members or whatever. And so I would say it was pretty dynamic.
It's awesome though.
Uh,
That's
It
great.
had to kind of be cool, like being a young guy, kind of surrounded by like all these important people, right? Like I would assume that that was a little probably like the hell did I get myself into kind of situation, right?
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I had moments where I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah. I
I
have
have
those
no
every
business.
day.
Yeah. Like you're sitting in some room with all these like people, these serious people in suits, and you're like,
Ooh.
I really hope
I
nobody
didn't
else.
expect this.
Yeah. And so it was great. I mean, you get to sort of exposure to like all these different styles too. And then you have to kind of pick like who do I want to be my role
Yeah,
models?
emulate essentially.
Sure.
And there's lots of options and what you see, and you see this everywhere, but DC is sort of this concentrator of a certain kind of people.
Man,
Like
you are a
Stu, like
lawyer.
Stu.
Hey, no, 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 no. There's Jim and I can tell you later about these certain kinds of people.
I think
I
we
don't
should
think
talk
Jim
about it
or
right
I
now.
fit into this category.
Well, and there's a lot of ways to be successful, and you
Yeah.
sort of watch the different ways that people do that, and some are, you make your own judgment, right? Like subjectively very different. Like, and so watching people who like have found ways to be successful by being like, by inspiring others and working hard and doing a good job and, standing up for, positions, and then people who, have a darker approach,
Can't
like
imagine.
the dark triad personality types that of which there are many in DC. So just sort of experiencing that and I'm still experiencing that. Um,
It's got to be eye-opening though, especially in your 20s when you walk into that.
yeah,
Like, whoa,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, totally.
Well, and I think it's interesting to point out, Jim, like, moving from what you did at PHMSA as an attorney to the private sector, like hopefully your mission didn't change, right? I mean, your client changed. It changed from the US government to
Sure.
some corporation that you're working for, or some client you're working for. But at the same time, like it was all in pursuit of progressing pipeline safety. Like you weren't,
Yeah.
the cases you were now arguing against the government for. I mean that obviously you can't talk about active cases, but like historically, like, maybe PHMSA went too far in what they were doing. I mean, I guess kind of what was the position you would have to take for a client in the private sector versus like,
Good question.
arguing against that client. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
No.
yeah, and it's a good theme, and it's actually been an important theme in my career. I mean, like, compared to some other federal programs where there's like in other federal programs, I won't name any of them, there might actually be
Come
a
on, we want an expose.
there might actually be a fundamental disagreement about whether like the program itself like should exist, right? Um, and you can, argue all day long about some of those, but when it comes to this program, there is no fundamental disagreement about the overall purpose.
Sure.
Nobody wants to have a bad day. Nobody wants, somebody to get hurt, their own workers, the public, and so we're all kind of driving towards that objective. And it's just like, what's the best way to get there?
Yeah.
And that's where it gets really interesting because and that's where kind of technology plays a role and engineering judgment and like you know, what is the best way to expend resources to be safe?
Right.
There's some real differences of opinion on that, and that I don't know that's what I think is the most fun is just kind of getting into that and getting into, all right, I have limited dollars to spend. I want to be
Yeah.
safe. I don't want to go dig holes
Right. Yeah.
that I don't need to dig and spend, and our industry spends billions of dollars a year
Do you,
collectively doing
you
things
ever
that it would rather
Yeah.
that would probably be better, that money would be better programmed doing other things. So that's pretty interesting.
I was just gonna ask you because like you're gonna find that out of the three of us, I asked the most like probably ridiculous questions. Um, do you ever find that like in because of what we do, that there's sometimes like government policies like that come out of PHMSA that are just a bit of overreach? Like things that are just a little bit like not thought through because I feel like sometimes we deal with that and I don't know where kind of I'm not going to pretend to understand what you really do. I wasn't smart enough to go to law school and
You still aren't, just so you know.
I just sometimes see policy that comes across that we have to that fundamentally affects us, like in our current jobs. And I'm like, man, like I don't feel like anybody really thought this one through. Like this was there's a lot of mistakes here. There's a lot of like erroneous things that have been kind of put out there that just don't make sense for the people that are kind of like boots on the ground, you know?
Sure, sure. And I mean, I think that absolutely happens. And I think it kind of goes back to, like I was saying before, like when I was in government, I didn't understand, like, at least at the beginning, like kind of the overall operational, like why operators did what they did.
Right.
And so I think that there's some of that. I mean, there's some people in the agency who do have, industry experience and could kind of think, all
Oh,
right,
sure.
is this actually going to work? But yeah, I mean, I think overall the agency is well intentioned, but you're right. I mean, sometimes things come out and it's just like, wait a minute, did we stress test this?
Mhm.
Right. I
Or it
think
came
one of the
out?
other things that gets us sometimes too is that like we have to follow like the rules and standards that are put in place, and sometimes like they're not very clear.
Yeah,
So
They're
we
very
get
vague. Yeah.
yeah, or just like so I end up asking a lot of questions to try to get a resolution that sometimes never really comes.
yeah, yeah. And that's really, and that's kind of like where we spend most of our time is in that gray.
The gray
Fair.
area. The gray area.
I guess
Not
the reason for your existence. Yeah, my bad.
pretty much.
Walked myself into that, man.
But and there's lots of different reasons that happens. I mean, one, probably the biggest one is, the regs just didn't get like vetted out and stress tested kind of
Sure.
fully before
Yeah.
they came out. Another reason is there's just not a strong consensus, internally, and so they end up kind of muddying
Wait.
waters a bit. And then I think a third reason, and this is not, I mean, not to be like too cloak and dagger about it, but sometimes they're vague for a reason.
Sure.
And they're vague because the agency wants to preserve room to maneuver later, when it's interpreting those regulations. And I think that's probably not the case most of the time, but it's certainly the case some of the time.
It's wild.
What's really interesting, like from the lawyer's perspective, is our Supreme Court has been busy in the last couple of years, and we've got cases like Loper Bright where agencies just don't get as much deference as they used to.
Right.
So that vagueness probably helps them less now than it used to. Um, so
Interesting.
long answer to your question, but and I think, I guess the last thing I would say is, we're in this mode now where the agency is really trying hard to make the regs more clear.
Yeah.
And that's a central theme in like a lot of the rulemaking that they're doing right now. And so there's an opportunity to get like this sort of generational opportunity to get, just get them to be more clear, kind of down the middle, kind of more confident in kind of what their positions are. So I'm excited about that.
I'm gonna ask one kind of silly question. FIM's a private sector, right? What took more time, energy, and effort?
What do you mean?
Like just for your job, like from a daily, like what
Oh,
was most, like, I guess, demanding part of, like, which one was, do you find a little bit more demanding or had the bigger workload?
yeah. I mean, what I've realized, and I probably only realized this recently, is that like when I was at PHMSA, I I worked a lot. Like I would work at night and stuff, and I thought that's just like what I needed to do. Like that's just what I felt I needed to do, and so I think a lot of that workload is probably like what I put on myself.
Sure.
Sure, but you were trying to make a name for yourself and build a career too at the same
Yeah,
time. So I mean,
yeah. I mean, I think they could both be really demanding in different ways. I mean, like when you're in the private sector or when you're in the government and somebody comes to you and they're like, "Hey, this thing just happened," and it's like a serious thing.
right.
Yeah.
Insert serious thing here, like
Yeah.
fatality
Yep.
accident. There's this member of Congress like called us to a meeting tomorrow, and like we need to have answers, whatever. And like you're a young person, and somebody's like they come to you and they say, "What do we do?"
Right.
And you got to just kind of figure it out. Um, and similar things happen in the private sector. You get a call on Friday before holiday, and it's like, hey, we just had an accident and we need your help like right now.
Right.
And it's like you don't know what's happening. It's like this fog of war kind of situation that doesn't happen like every Friday, but it happens. So that
Enough
they
Fridays to
I'm
remember.
sure your wife must love that.
Yeah. It's very excited.
Right before vacation, just
yeah, yeah, yeah. So they're each demanding, but in kind of different ways. I mean, the demand comes from like just these pressures, these high pressure situations where there's a lot of uncertainty. And I guess the good thing as you get older, you just sort of seen more of those. And so you're less like,
Yeah.
yeah.
hopefully less deer in the headlights.
Yeah, they're less shocked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's switch to something more cool.
Yeah.
You said you're just in Alaska, right?
Alaska. Yeah.
Yeah.
More cool because I don't understand half the things that we're talking about. Yeah. Um, I've never been to Alaska. It's been like my
Never.
bucket list, one of my places I'd like to go. But obviously, you're up
Okay.
there, with pipeline industry. Can you just tell us a little bit more about like the operators up there, some of the challenges that they have, at the present time?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a fascinating place, beautiful place. You should go there if you can. Um,
I'm too busy working on films of crap to get on. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
oh man. Uh, Yeah, so what I think is so there's lots of different things that are unique about Alaska, and I just give you some anecdotes. So like I remember when I first started going up there, because I first started going up there in 2006, and I've probably been there. I was trying to figure out how many times I've been there, and I think it's about 32 times,
Wow.
if I have it right, since 2006. And I remember when I first started going up there, and people would refer to the rest of the country as outside, and I'm like, that's
Like
kind of weird,
when you're
You're from
outside.
outside. It's their view on the outsiders. It's a whole new
Yeah.
view.
But it gives you like a feel. You're like, okay, this place is different. And the people are, I mean, it's great people up there. And it really is like the last frontier. Um, so and there's like an Alaska exception for everything. Because it's such an extreme environment. Like from an operational perspective, you've
Can't
got
imagine.
you got issues that you just don't have in the lower 48. Like, how do I build a pipeline over permafrost?
Or in the dark.
Permafrost is moving
Yeah.
up and down. And like it's there's engineering challenges and Arctic design considerations. How do I build a subsea line in the Cook Inlet when the tidal range in the inlet's like 30 feet from high to low tide? And
Wow.
like you can only put divers in the water like at slack tide for like 7 minutes, and then they have to come out. I'm getting the numbers wrong, but it's
That's okay.
We're gonna fact check you on this.
So it's just a really cool place because you have these challenges you have to deal with that just don't exist everywhere else. And I think the greatest irony right now, and it's a real challenge, is Alaska is resource rich.
Sure.
It's amazing. Right up on the slope, we have Prudhoe Bay, is still one of the biggest oil fields in the world, one of the biggest gas fields in the world too. But they're running out of gas in the Anchorage area in Cook Inlet.
Huh.
And this is the salt
Wow.
public, but it's like it's a serious issue. And so it's serious enough that they're actually talking about importing LNG to the Anchorage area,
Wow.
like importing LNG to
Yeah,
Alaska. Like it's crazy,
that's
right?
interesting.
Um, and
Yeah.
so, one of the things that's out there is this Alaska LNG project. Will it get built? Will we build a pipe from the slope down to the Kenai and do export and supply the Anchorage market? I think that's probably closer than it's been in a long time.
That's
But,
interesting.
and Chris Wright was just up there. There are a bunch of folks from the new administration up there. I think there's a lot of excitement building around that. But when you look at that price tag, I mean
Yeah.
that's a big price tag. 44 billion,
What's the,
something
I
like
was just gonna say, Jim, I mean, what's the deterrent for them not producing up
About
there? I
40
mean,
billion.
About
well,
44 billion dollars.
but I mean, like, I mean, yeah, that's expensive, but like, you think about Japan and all the markets that would
that.
that would want access to that resource, whether it's oil or natural gas. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
it seems like the customers would line up if it was built. Maybe I'm being too presumptive there, but I mean, I guess is the cost the main factor, or is there like
Yeah.
environmental or lack of technology? I mean, what's
I mean, we can, if we want to build it, we can do it. Like we
okay?
have the technology to do it. It's going to be costs, and I mean the way you finance those projects is on long-term contracts,
Right.
and you know, importing LNG to Asia from Alaska is actually, I mean, it's like right there, right?
Yeah, it's literally
It's not that far.
no.
So yeah, there's like transport advantages. So I think, that'll be the key. Like, do we get sufficient long-term contracts to finance to get like a syndicate of banks together who are going to say, okay, yeah, we'll,
Finance.
we'll we will finance this because you've got these contracts out there. So
What would the time frame be like to actually do that?
to build it,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, look at like when we built the Trans-Alaska pipeline.
Right.
I say I was like 1 year old when it was built, but that got done in a couple of years.
That's what
Like
I
that
was thinking. It
was,
couldn't be, it's not that long of a
yeah.
process.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it will take longer now. We've got a lot of permitting that would need to happen, and I'm sure there would be litigation and challenges and whatnot. But um, yeah, I don't know what a realistic timeline is. But it's probably several years at a minimum.
I was just curious. I
Yeah.
don't know how
And
long
it would,
it'll take.
I mean, the line would go like in the same right of way as the Trans-Alaska pipeline. I mean,
I don't.
is there some advantage?
Yeah, I don't know. I actually don't. I don't know kind of what the latest thing is on the route. I know that certainly has been discussed as an option.
Yeah.
You can imagine
Um,
the environmental and like that you have to go through to do that. If you have to cut a new right away,
That would
that's
be a big deal.
yeah, that's probably
that was the most lorry way you could say that. That would be a
It's just funny. Like, I mean, I remember talking to somebody that worked for Alyeska, which is the operator for the Trans-Alaska pipeline, and them talking about just some of the challenges and like, I mean, don't they have like elevated parts of the pipeline to
yeah.
like so the caribou can go underneath? Like, it's just kind
Well,
of
yeah.
like crazy stuff.
I mean, the first several hundred miles of that line is all above ground.
Good.
And
Insulated.
it's above ground because it's on permafrost.
Right.
You can't, at least at the time, they could not bury it because the permafrost is moving around.
Yeah.
It freezes and thaws and whatnot. So yeah, it's fascinating. But yeah, the animals like walk under it, and it's like the most photogenic pipeline ever. Like anytime anybody does like a pipeline report, they like get a picture of it and put it on the front.
I've used it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've used it.
everybody sees them.
Yeah, it's always funny. Like people are like pipelines, they're buried. Like nobody,
Yeah,
you
It's
can't take
hard.
a good picture of a pipeline because it's always underground. I guess you
It's
could
kind
take a
of
picture of
cool.
it like
It's kind of cool. The
welded.
guy I work for, Bill Burke, he was the president of Bread Shaw at the time, and they built that they did part of the welding contract and also the coating, the insulation coating for the whole
Cool.
pipe, which
Yeah.
is pretty neat. He used to talk about it a lot.
That's your claim to fame.
That's not my claim to fame.
Sorry.
I knew a guy.
I
The
knew a
new
guy.
guy, the
Yeah.
new
New
guy,
guy, new
my
guy.
cousin's roommates, brothers.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
No, so, I mean, I think we've been good conversation, Jim, and just kind of, we'll chat a little bit longer and just curious, if we can go back to some of the PHMSA stuff, just thinking about what they've been working on and what they maybe want to work on still. I'd be curious your thoughts. You shared a lot already, but just curious your thoughts on kind of this first half of the year. What has PHMSA done? What do you think is going to be the biggest, consequential action that they've taken so far? And do you have any thoughts about what they are yet to do?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the themes, like, and some of the themes we've been talking about in this conversation, like these are the themes that they're pursuing. Like one is, the commitment to safety is not wavered. And, that's still there. That, the Secretary of Transportation, Secretary Duffy, has like made that very clear that like this is what we are about, safety. And you see that like in response to accidents, like PHMSA's, pretty active. It's enforcement's picked back up, all of that. But like I was saying before, it's how you get there.
Yeah.
That's what's really generationally different is you have the agency leaders who are all people who are from this business and understand it, which is pretty different compared to a lot of previous political leaders who maybe they came from some other energy thing or not even.
Yeah.
And it takes them a year to get up to speed. All of these leaders already have a sense of things. And
So do you see things moving faster?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're moving really fast. Um, they're moving really fast. And their theme is like, how do we, maintain safety, but do it in a way that makes more sense
Yeah.
and do it in a way that allows people to use new technology, allows us to use like all this learning we have as an industry over the past several decades and like apply that now instead of applying, criteria, whatever rules that were developed when we didn't have those
Yeah.
techniques and tools. So that's where you're going to see the change. And there's two big proceedings open right now. One's on pipeline repair criteria.
Hmm.
Um, and I think you're going to see those get modernized.
Hmm.
And again, like, none of our clients want to not fix things that need to be fixed. They want to fix things that need to be fixed. But right now, people are spending a lot of money digging holes in the ground and repairing things that we know are not going to be harmful.
You got a
And so,
10% wall loss. You got to go in there and fix it. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, like that repair criteria is just like the dent stuff.
yeah.
Not super
Yeah.
super technical, but the dent people are fixing dents that we all know, and even PHMSA knows, like you don't need to fix those dents, but that's what's in the regs. And so
Right.
there's this opportunity to get those changed. I think um, I think we have a really good shot at doing that. It's more of an issue for the liquids industry right now than the gas, but still there are some issues on the gas side. So that's one, and then the other one, which is that's like way bigger than that, is just like this broad deregulatory or regulatory modernization rulemaking, where PHMSA has basically come in and said, "Tell us how we can do this better. Tell us what doesn't make sense." And the real challenge for the operator community is you look at that and you're like, "Gosh, where do I start?"
Yeah. What do you mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, do I lock myself in a cabin for 2 weeks with a
Yeah.
leak
Figure
valve?
it all out and write everything that I think you do better.
What's the number
Yeah,
one? Yeah, what's the
yeah.
number one concern?
And so that's the challenge within industry is just getting people. I mean, I think everyone's very focused on it, but getting people to like really kind of triage like what's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And that's happening now. That there's a lot of effort underway. And so, in terms of what PHMSA does next, I mean, when you look at how long it takes agencies generally, PHMSA specifically, to do rules, like they're gonna have to go pedal to the metal
Right.
now for the next 3 years if they want to have a shot at getting final rule changes in. It takes time, like they are moving faster, but they still have to go through the secretary's office. They have to get through the White House. They have to, have all of these conversations and get all of the, political things lined up to
Is there
make it.
still anybody at PHMSA that was there when you were there?
Yeah,
But yeah, I wasn't sure. You never know. That's interesting too.
His
yeah,
enemy.
sure.
Yeah, now they're enemies.
colleagues. They're colleagues.
Gone to the dark side, Jim.
Actually,
Frenemies.
I still get shade when I go to like industry events. People like they're like,
Are
"Oh,
you an outsider?
yeah, yeah." They're like, I get dark side jokes, and I've been gone since 2006. I still
Yeah,
get dark side jokes.
It's crazy.
20 years.
Yeah,
One of the
Well,
things,
it's
go ahead. Go ahead, Steve.
yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, I think when you think about what they're trying to do and some of the changes they're trying to instill, go back to what we were talking about earlier with like the vagueness. I
Yeah.
don't know. I feel like there's value in vagueness, I guess, for industry too. I mean, it's definitely puts more responsibility on the operator to be proven wrong by the regulator as opposed to just checking a box based off of what re prescription has been given by the regulator. But
yeah,
I mean, when you talk about some of this like new technology, whether it's inline inspection tools that can like, better image the pipe, which you can make a more informed decision than you could. I mean, these are things we need to
Is that
utilize
different
as
than a
an
smart pig
industry.
too?
what'd you say?
Different than a smart pig, or same type of thing but different technology?
Same type of thing, but better
Yeah.
tech. Yeah,
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's just like what are the sensors? It's still
Yeah.
still going through the pipe. It's just like it's ultrasonic versus like, radiograph or whatever. I'm civil engineer, so probably over my skis when you think about some of this stuff, but it's just like those
Yours. How do
carrying
you think we
devices.
feel?
Yeah.
I'm not even on the slope, man.
yeah.
But
No,
yeah, I mean, I think there's value in us like, having boundaries, but having a little bit more kind of flexibility in those boundaries to utilize
yeah.
technology.
Yeah, and that's a great theme, and I'm glad you raised that because that is another key theme, like in terms of what we want the agency to do. And you could call it vagueness. I mean, like another way to another name for it is performance-based regulation.
Hmm.
And so let's just like as an example, like say like a performance-based regulation versus prescriptive regulation, which is like prescriptive is if you have X, you shall do Y.
Yep.
And I'll just give you an example. So like some of the hazardous liquid dent repair criteria. If you have a dent that looks like this, you have to go dig it up in 180 days, and there's no exception. Okay. So a more performance-based criteria would be if you have a dent that looks like that, pay more attention to it and run finite element analysis on it. If go fix it if you want, but run finite element analysis, do an engineering critical assessment, and really let that dictate whether this is going to be harmful or not. Let the specific geometry of the dent and like the kind of pressure cycling you have on the line determine whether you need to fix it. And maybe you still need to fix it, but if you don't, then go spend that $1 million fixing something else. And so I think that's like I think a one example of many where you can take like that's not so much vagueness, but you could take a real hard edged like prescriptive thing and change it into, hey, do you really need to do this? Like go ahead and do it, and then you can check your box. Or if you feel like maybe you don't, like go do some other stuff and be sure. And that's where the kind of the flexibility piece comes in. Other examples are more performance-based reg. I mean, you could set like a performance target, like don't have no accidents or have no releases above a certain amount, and then it's up to you to figure out how to
How
do
you
that.
do that. That's
That
kind
would
of like
be
that's like OSHA sort of. That's kind of I feel like how OSHA operates a little bit.
yeah,
They're
yeah, and
like
I
whatever
think
you say you do, you better do it. If you don't do it,
yeah,
then we have a problem with you.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I think I think like this environment we're in right now is probably an opportunity to get more performance based. I think there will be things that probably never get to be all performance based, like valve inspections. Like I think you know
Leak,
we're
leak.
always going to have to go do valve inspections like once a year or whatever the frequency is.
That's what they say.
Until somebody goes and figures out a way to do it in a different, better way. So I think that'll always be a mix, but I think we're going to move more performance based in the next couple of years.
One of the things, like being on the natural gas side, that I guess it was a little more prevalent, maybe I'm just not paying attention, but the hydrogen pipelines and hydrogen use for, obviously to replace natural gas. I was just kind of wondering, like, well, from your perspective, kind of what's that look like, and what's the conversation and dialogue that's going on in the industry or in your world about that?
Yeah. So I would say it's like since I've started doing this, like about every several years, people get really jazzed about hydrogen.
That's kind of how I felt. It's like 2 years ago it was the biggest thing in the world, and then it kind of died. So,
Yeah, and I think what happens is, so fundamentally, like hydrogen's the most abundant element in the universe. It's a fuel that you can burn.
it's dangerous.
It can be. It can be. Everybody thinks of the Hindenburg. If you want to like know what the public thinks of things, just like ask your elderly parent. Like I asked my
About
mom,
hydrogen.
what's the first thing you think of when you think of hydrogen? And
Hydrogen bomb.
yeah, or the Hindenburg.
Or the Hindenburg, yeah.
Um, and that's something the industry's been trying to like get out from under for a long time. But
What was that, about 150 years ago? I mean, like,
it was a
things have
long time
changed
ago.
slightly.
It was a long time ago. But yeah, so I mean, the fundamental sort of promise of that element is is really interesting. The problem, like with any tech, is like, can you do it economically?
Right.
And do we have the technologies to like actually make this a part of our energy ecosystem, which means you got to move it around all over the place, which we can do with natural gas because we have the best natural gas infrastructure in the world in the United States. We got 2 million miles of pipe. We don't have that for hydrogen. So what happened is because of these like sort of the fundamental scientific promise of the molecule of the element, people get really into it. There are some technological advances that are made. And then the hype cycle starts, and you have all these startups, and they're like, we're going to do this. It's going to work this time. We're going to do it economically, and then they attract a bunch of private capital. You start to get federal policy support, and then at some point, like the hangover period starts
Just
when
loses momentum.
projects are not going to FID. I mean, some are. I will say we're furthest along with hydrogen than we've ever been. But we still had this unfortunate hype cycle where, you know, the world was promised and not delivered.
Right.
And now we're in the necessary sort of part of the cycle, which is, hey, this is promising. Um, it it's promising in certain sectors, probably not others.
Who's going to pay for it?
Yeah, who's going to pay for it? And what kind of technology development do we need to get to a place where it's actually something that is cost competitive for industry? And it's getting closer to that. But it's not, it still has a ways to go. So I think, and for a while we're doing a ton of hydrogen work. We still do a lot of it. And there are parts of the hydrogen economy that have actually been going along for the last 40 years that are very strong. Like
Hmm.
hydrogen, there's a hydrogen pipeline network on the Gulf Coast, the biggest in the world, that supplies dozens of crude oil refineries and petrochemical manufacturing facilities. They need hydrogen. They always have. We make it out of natural gas. We know how to transport it safely. It's just when you talk about taking that kind of model and
Well,
scaling it up for other industries, like we have some work to do there. But um, I do think at some point we're going to unlock, technology just marches forward, right?
sure.
And at some point it's going to become economical. And frankly, I mean, I think a lot of gas businesses, big producers and big pipelines understand that and have been making bets and investments and
Sure.
getting smart on it so that, they as natural gas producers and transporters can be the best position to lead.
Yeah.
If you get to that point, I just think, I think it's probably a little further out than
Than our careers.
maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
I sometimes wonder if natural gas was like that 50, 60, 70 years ago, right? Like if that was the conversation around natural gas back then.
I don't know.
I mean, think about it.
Burn natural
Yeah.
gas forever, though.
Okay, 80 years, 100 years, make a time frame up. I'm just saying, like, I
Well,
mean,
I mean,
we're
well,
I was
always
just gonna say,
evolving, right? We're always
yeah,
evolving into something else.
oh,
And I
yeah,
think that Jim's right. Eventually, we'll get to something that's, abundant and economical. And, it's just the challenges that go along with that. And all the people
yeah.
who, honestly, I mean, I sometimes wonder if it comes down to people going, I'm going to lose my ass.
Look at
Was that a
Stu.
kid?
Yeah,
Is
is
that
that a kid? Don't
a,
turn it off. Bring him
is
on.
it a kid or a dog?
It was a
How's he
kid.
feel about hydrogen? Talk to him.
Look at him. He looks all
it's a
frightened.
kid.
Is that baby
He's
Stu?
All I saw was something go behind. I was like, is Stu's dog in there? And then I see
I thought it
No,
was a golden retriever at first.
yeah, this is Jack. So
He's like, can we
I'll
go
be
Uh,
to
back. Y'all
now? Can
talk
you
amongst
stop talking?
yourselves.
No worries. I guess the last thing for you, Jim, and we can kind of let you go because I mean I could probably talk to you for hours about things because I don't understand a lot of this stuff. And it's not really part of our day-to-day life, right? But I guess, and Stu wrote this question, so I'm going to read it verbatim.
All right, I'm
So
ready.
because he's not here, I'm going to do this. Jim, any hot takes that will make sure those few people that listen to our podcast will keep listening?
Hot takes. Yeah, I
Not to
mean,
put you on the spot or anything.
no, it's all good. Yeah, I think I don't know if I have a hot take.
Maybe you should have started with this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Keep them listening.
the warm-up question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, I think I mean I think we're at this point where like the gas industry has been kind of been getting beat up for
Yeah.
the last several
Yeah,
years.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Um, and I think, obviously a lot has changed in the world. And I think there's this greater recognition of how important our industry is.
I agree.
Um, and not to like, knock other parts of the energy value chain, but like we're in this world where, I mean, you look at the demand curves for electricity,
Right.
like how are we gonna meet that?
Solar panels.
Like
That's part
Lots
of
of
it. It'll
solar
be part
panels.
of it, but you need all of it. That's what we always talk
need
about. That's
all of
the
it.
problem.
And you really need gas, um, because we need reliable baseload power.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people lose sight of the fact that like and I don't want to get too like political about any of this, but I think people lose sight of what they currently have and why they have it. I say it all the time that people want change until it impacts them.
And then
So I
they're
hear
like,
a
oh
lot of
no.
people, yeah, right. Like we should go to all electricity. And I'm like, I don't even think you fully understand what that means or what that does to impact your life. And I agree with you, Jim. And I don't know if it's an administrative change or what, kind of what's going on politically, but I think there has been kind of a page turned a little bit on the importance of natural gas versus trying to slander it and beat it to death over the course of the last, several years. So I'm hopeful that we'll kind of for our industry, we make parts specifically for the gas industry. It's kind of important. So I guess what do you think about that? Like, you think we're going the good way or the bad way?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a recognition, like I think it's almost like a cultural recognition, like, okay, we all need power and we need it to be economical. Um, and we need all the tech to advance into the
Yeah.
future and be, you know, um, a global competitor as a country.
Agreed.
Like we need it all. And I
Agreed.
think like the every man on the street is starting to realize that.
I don't want to. I have one last question because then we have to go, obviously. But I've been hearing a lot more chatter about nuclear.
Hmm.
That seems to be something that's ramping back up, and I think I heard that they're putting in some new nuclear facilities in the United States. I'm not clear on that, but I thought that I heard something about that recently.
Yeah, I mean that's like we should schedule a part two and talk about nuclear.
Cool.
Um,
I'd be
Yeah.
happy because I know zero about that.
yeah, no, I think nuclear's got a bright future. It's like, oh gosh, where do we even start? Yeah, you're going to see more nuclear development in the United States. You're going to see it's already starting plants that were taken out of service put back into service. And then I think what I think is most exciting is, like almost all the nuclear facilities in the United States are built on 1950s design.
Right.
It's been so hard to license modern tech in nuclear that, by the way, at least the proponents are saying would be a lot safer.
Sure.
I think I think we're gonna turn a page on that, and we're gonna have some newer technology in that space. So I would watch that space. I think there's a lot of promise there.
Do you think that part of the problem with that is kind of what we had kind of said about the Hindenburg and the hydrogen bomb? Like, there's a lot of like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of like concern about those nuclear disasters.
Sure. I mean, like the whole regulatory framework for nuclear regulation is, and don't get me wrong, like we want our nuclear regulators to be looking out for our safety,
Sure.
like 100%. But you have to ask yourself like that when you look at that regulatory framework, is it right sized for
Sure.
what we need? Is it right sized given what we know of new technology? And we should always be asking that question in any kind
Absolutely.
of regulatory program. Like, is this still the program for today? And if not, like, let's make it the program for
I
today.
guess my question is, do you think that that's why it hasn't developed as much as maybe some other sectors recently because of, that fear?
I think that's probably. I mean, I'm not a nuclear expert,
Neither am I, but you're closer
but
than I am.
yeah, I think that's part of it. Yeah, I mean, it's the stuff that happened in Japan at Fukushima. I mean, like that,
It's pretty
that
bad.
affects the public consciousness for sure. It affects politicians. It affects regulators. Nobody wants that here. So yeah, yeah, I think that's part of
I
it.
kind of think of nuclear kind of like a plane crash. Like 11 million or whatever flights go daily, no one cares anything about it, but you're only concerned and they only have issue about the one that doesn't go right. And I feel like the nuclear kind of falls into that platform as well.
Yeah, yeah, and even I mean, on the pipeline side, that's the
Same
case.
thing.
Like people
Same
don't
thing.
even like most people don't even really know there are pipelines
Yeah.
until there's like a
An
pipeline.
incident. You're
Yeah.
only as good as your last mistake.
That's right.
Thank you for that wise words of
That's
wisdom.
why I have two ex-wives. Don't tell anybody. Jim, actually, for real, I would like to, if you would grace us with your time again, I would like to have you on for a part two and
That'd
talk
be
to you
awesome.
more about some things. I apologize, like I said initially, I haven't been feeling well, so I wasn't all that prepared for this. I'll come a
Like
little.
you were gonna be prepared anyway.
You know, I
Stop
do
it.
research. I didn't even look at his LinkedIn page and
Okay,
read.
that's fair.
I mean,
Usually at least do that.
yeah, I mean, I really didn't even know what you did until I got on here. Um, that's my fault, but I'd like to maybe if you wouldn't mind, do it again. It'd be cool.
That'd be great. Yeah, I've enjoyed chatting with you guys today. I'd love to do it
Yeah, we'll
again.
get this out here too in the next couple days. Shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Great. I really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it. So you
Jim.
got any parting shots, any words? You want to bring your kid back in? What are you gonna do? Go to the beach? I see you got kids
No,
behind you. What do you got going
no,
on?
no nuclear, no future, well, maybe a future nuclear scientist. I don't know, but he's not educated just yet on all that stuff.
He just wants to go to the pool right now. That's all.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's all he's
That
on. He's
is
like, "Are you done
exactly what
talking?"
he's wanted. So,
All
All
right.
right,
Well,
pal.
thank you,
awesome.
Jim. Appreciate it,
Thanks a
man.
lot.
All right, thanks, fellas. We'll see ya.